our man on the ground with, it looks like he has some helpers there, and hopefully
Yes.
they're registered helpers. Kirk Clyatt from Las Vegas. As we would say in Australia, g'day.
Good day. Good day, Mike. Things are so stressful here now, less than 7 weeks away from the election. I have to have my therapy animals here. Not her real name, but I call her Eve, short for evil, because you never know what this little puppy dog is going to do. And then my old friend over here, I don't know if you can see him, this is Ted. Ted. So these guys help me reduce the stress. And okay, guys, take off. Go
But
somewhere.
I am impressed, Kirk. I am impressed you
Mhm.
found a couple of very qualified candidates for the presidential election.
Well,
Could
believe me,
replace Biden and Kamala.
either one of them better than Donald Trump, who was in my neighborhood over the weekend,
He popped
causing
in, I
me
believe.
great.
Popped in to say hello
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. Well, he was close by. He was close by, a mile or two away, and he had a rally in a warehouse, which was strictly prohibited by laws here in Nevada. But that's just one of the things Republicans say. They say, "Hey, I can do whatever I want," and so they were fined. Ahern, the construction firm that owns the warehouse, they were fined $3,000. But he's like, "Hey, chump change. Here you go."
So,
So the interesting thing was there, the folks that were in the picture behind Trump, they're all wearing masks, but almost no one in the crowd is. And the argument, of course, is this is America. We can do what we want. Yeah, but it's like taking a punch. Your right to take a punch stops where my nose begins. And you've got a situation out there where these 5,000 people, the COVID idiots, go out into the community. They go to the gas stations, the convenience stores, to the casinos, to the supermarkets, and they clearly aren't interested in wearing masks, so they can transmit, they can shed that virus to many other people. And of course, the death toll just continues to mount here in Las Vegas and across the country, with close to 200,000 deaths that are taking place. And I was thinking before we began, Mike, what a different mindset we have here in the United States compared to, say, in Australia. I know you have the situation with the Andrews government in Victoria with that lockdown. A lot of people very much opposed to what he's doing. But the thing is, the people generally comply. If you tried with so few cases, I mean, compared to what we have even here in Nevada with less than half the population of Victoria, you couldn't do it. You would have insurrection in the streets. You would have an impossible situation. So it's definitely a different mindset. And that's a national mindset between the United States and Australia. I'm okay. I could go for what the Andrews government put in place because I have an oasis here in the ghetto to enjoy.
and that's
But you
and
got to.
in the world famous OLA. Now,
That's right.
now we'll get onto that later on because
Outdoor
that is
living
the
area.
important. That's
Yes.
the important thing to talk about. But first of all, does Trump have a problem with Nevada?
Well, he didn't win it last time. Hillary Clinton, in a very close race, did defeat him. And we do have a lot of pain here in Nevada. So people aren't sure who to believe. There's so many conflicting messages. I tweeted about what was happening in the neighborhood over the weekend, and the hatred and vitriol that I got from the right was really amazing. And that's one of the differences I think we have between the right and the left. The right says, we are right. This is what we're going to do. And they stick with it. The left is like, oh, maybe we can work things out. Maybe we can, get everybody together, have a kumbaya moment. So it's a different mindset, too, between the left and the right. And since the right is willing to, pull out those AK-47s and shoot paintballs at people that are protesting in the streets, the left, I don't think we really have that. Some people would say, oh, but what about Antifa? Well, what about them? How many arrests have there been? Antifa, is this some cloud group that the right's always talking about? But I can tell you, I've never met a member of it. And then, of course, you have the right saying George Soros, he's the man that funds everything. I remember I was covering and doing some commentary on the walk down the Las Vegas Strip right after Trump was elected in 2017. And then you had the Women's March, and all the comments, not all, but many of the comments, because there were a lot of viewers on that, were like, who's paying you? Did Soros give you your talking points? How much did you get in your check? So the reality that the right has compared to the reality that the left has aren't even together. One of these people that were heckling me online, I said, you claim you're from Las Vegas. Let's meet in person and do kind of like what we're doing here. We could put up online on Periscope our little chat, meet at a public place, maybe Sunset Park down by the airport. Come on, let's talk. But you know what? I've done that to many on the right. I'd say maybe 10,
Mm.
and no one has ever followed through.
Well, yeah, I could just say that and I do agree. I think there are those on the right and those on the left who should never come out of their caves, because I think extreme applies to both sides, Kirk.
Well, it's a circle, and the left and the right, when you come around at the bottom,
Mm.
there are a lot of things that are very similar. You have some of the extreme left wing that says, oh, they can't vote for Biden, so they're going to vote for Trump. They just bridge that gap down at the bottom of the extremist circle. And of course, we have that. We even have a thing with Michael Caputo, who was the chief, I think, believe still is, the chief spokesperson for the CDC, talking about how there's going to be blood in the streets. This is the Centers for Disease Control political appointee spokesperson, and that his mental health is deteriorating. And I think that's one of the things we've got. We have a major mental health crisis, just kind of community crisis here in the United States. And what we've seen, of course, there are some signs of things trying to work things out. The killing in Kentucky of the unarmed woman a couple of months ago, her family is getting a huge $12 million settlement, but those officers still haven't been charged in that famous killing that took place. But the question is, not, I think, if, but how much bloodshed there's going to be after the election. There are many, many dire scenarios, and I know just to get things prepared, and it's something that I think a lot of folks, especially perhaps in Australia, couldn't really relate to, is having to prepare for civil insurrection, which is what we've done. We are not armed, because I just think armed group, or the police for that matter, would so outgun us, it's not worth the expense. But we have purchased several long shot cans of bug repellent just in case. I kid you
That'll
not.
work well. That'll work well.
No, it shoots over 30 feet. It's like long distance mace. And we've also stocked up on non-perishable food supplies, pasta, lentils, split peas, rice, tremendous amount of
Tequila.
water. Believe me, we have plenty of alcohol too that the casinos used to give us before the pandemic. I mean, it was amazing how much booze. I would have to either become an alcoholic or live to 120 to get through all that we have in the house. It's absolutely amazing. One of the little fringe benefits of living in Las Vegas, I'm into my 6th year here, and never purchased an alcoholic beverage.
And also, I can see with the bug spray, the aim has to be great. But let's face it, men, have been practicing their aim for all their life. So I'm sure you'll get the person right on the middle of the head.
I really hope it doesn't come down to this, and that things are quiet. There's a peaceful transition. But I can tell just from this weekend, we do not have a community spirit in America that we had, say, 19 years ago after 9/11. It is a fractured, dangerous, nerve-wracking place. And I think the stress of the last 6 months on so many people, especially in a community like Las Vegas, is really, really difficult to deal with. And that's why a lot of people are reaching out. They're grasping out for straws at who could help them and who could make things better. While we have just an overwhelmed unemployment system here in Nevada, because we had very low unemployment. It's a service sector economy. It was booming with the conventions. And now they're having to reposition, going back to their gambling roots here, the hotels on the Strip. But many people are really at wit's end. The lines are, I would say, there are thousands of cars every day that go through food bank lines for people. A lot of people with the unemployment office being so confused and difficult. They've had great deal of trouble getting their unemployment compensation. There are some people that in months have just had that $1,200 stimulus check, and they are wondering what is going to happen when the eviction moratorium expires. Are they going to be out on the streets?
You bring up a good point. What's going to happen when governments stop giving out money, whether you're in the UK, Asia, and parts of Asia, not all parts, but parts of Asia, Australia, New Zealand? There's not this unlimited supply of funds coming from the feds or the state. So, I mean, the world, I mean, we're going through a pretty bad patch at the moment. Can you imagine, though, when there's no money? What's going to
Well,
happen?
the government simply have to. The government has no choice. If they didn't, you would have economic collapse. And yet you have this crazy dichotomy while you still have Wall Street doing well. It is amazing. Imagine if you had the foresight and the guts to put all of your equity, every penny you had in the market, say on March 25th, especially if you took some beat down stocks like, for instance, Red Rock Resorts, which is the biggest locals casino market here in Las Vegas. They dropped down to under $3 a share. They had been as high in the last couple of years as $36 a share, $36, and they dropped down to under 3, and now they have rebounded back to above 18. So that would have been, you could have made a 600% profit on that one stock if you had invested in late March and just rode it right back up out there. But that's one of the things they're having a problem with here in Las Vegas. It used to be big hotel and casinos like Wynn and Encore. And just to give you an idea how big these places are, Wynn and Encore had, when they were in full staff last year, back in the distant past, back last year, they had a staff of about 12,000 people just working at those two properties, because of course we had nightlife, day clubs, nightclubs, of course all the conventions, all the shows. Now it's like, the 1950s here in Las Vegas, or 1940s for that matter, where it's basically all just gambling. The difference is, back in the 1940s, Nevada was the place to come to get divorced and to gamble. Now there are casinos everywhere, so it really is a tough sell. Our international business, of course, is gone here in Nevada. Air travel is down about 2/3 to what it used to be. So the situation that we're dealing with here is trying to get in the drive-in market from neighboring states, and that's a tough haul. So here again, from the time we talked last time, it appears it will be literally years, if ever, before we have Las Vegas return to the way it was last year. Look at a huge show like CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. It's like nothing I've ever seen. I'm glad I had a chance to go to a couple of them, because it truly is mind-boggling. But you have to wonder if in the future the economics, the politics, the realities of the pandemic, is that going to allow for an event like that to really ever take place again?
Now, what will lighten up our lives, undoubtedly, is the OLA.
It's the outdoor living area here in fabulous Las Vegas. That's one of the things that's interesting. We've talked before, housing prices remain very stable in Las Vegas because people are saying, get me out of the smoke in California, get me out of this world's worst air quality in Portland, Oregon, normally a dream location. So a lot of people are saying, even though Las Vegas is in economic major stress, I can work from anywhere. So I'm going to work for somewhere where the weather's warm. I mean, we're cooling off for fall. It's only about 40 degrees now. So that's a bit of a chill in the air. I've been here long enough that if it's under 40, it's almost a little too cool to go in the pool. So a lot of people, your blood thins out. Very old wives' tale. But, so even though we're in distress in a lot of ways economically, it's still a more desirable location than a lot of cities are, where things are just prohibitively expensive. You can still get a very nice house in Las Vegas for, say, $300,000. It's tough to get a parking space in some major cities for that, even though prices are dropping. New York City, for instance, the most apartment vacancies in Manhattan they've ever seen. It had been pre-pandemic about 1% to 2% vacant apartments in Manhattan. Now it's way over 5%. Right now, you got your choice. Mike, I know you want to head to New York, get an apartment. There are over 15,000 available for you to look at in Manhattan alone.
Kirk Clyatt is from the second largest Hawaiian city in the US.
That's right.
They all go there for the gambling, although at the moment it's by longboat only.
No, we are the ninth island.
You are
Here in Las Vegas. That's
and you
right.
know all about Hawaii because you've actually worked there as a technician of some sort. But that's another story which we can't go into. Kirk, thank you very much.
Always a great pleasure. Look forward to doing it again soon. Maybe with some happiness. Where's Pharrell Williams when you need him? Happy.